Let's be honest for a moment. When someone you feel something real and deep for simply starts to drift away, your first impulse is almost never to stand still. It's to chase after them. You send more messages than you should. You call trying to clarify things. You try to explain your feelings. You try to fix whatever you think went wrong. All of this comes from one place, the fear of losing that connection. But here's the painful part. Instead of bringing this person closer, each attempt seems to push them further away. The more you try to reconnect, the colder, more distant, or more confusing the situation becomes. And this creates a frustrating, almost maddening cycle where you feel like you're doing everything out of love. But the result is exactly the opposite of what you want. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know one thing. You're not alone. This happens to a lot of people, especially when the person on the other side has what we call an avoidant attachment style. People like this don't handle intense emotional closeness well, especially when they feel pressured, even if that pressure comes from good intentions. And that's exactly why today's video is so important, because I'm not going to teach you a cheap trick, nor an emotional manipulation technique. What I'm going to show you is what to really do during the no contact period, in a way that's based on psychology, emotional regulation, and how the human mind responds to distance and safety. If you truly understand this, the dynamic between you changes completely. The chasing stops, the tension decreases, and something unexpected begins to happen. The person who previously distanced themselves naturally starts to get closer to you. Before any strategy, before any decision, there's something fundamental you need to understand. People with an avoidant attachment style don't distance themselves because they don't feel anything. In fact, it's often the exact opposite. They crave connection, they crave love, they crave bonding, but they're afraid of what comes with it. For them, getting emotionally close doesn't feel like comfort. It feels like a loss of control. Vulnerability doesn't sound like security, it sounds like risk. So, when you start to get closer, when you express feelings, when you seek clarity or connection, something happens at the most basic level of their bodies. The nervous system goes into a state of alert. It's not a rational decision. It's an automatic response. The brain interprets intimacy as a threat, and the natural reaction is to create distance. Not because you did something wrong, not because they don't care, but because they feel emotionally overwhelmed. And here's the point that almost no one realizes. The more you try to understand, explain, insist on, or save the connection, the more trapped that person feels. Your attempt to get closer activates exactly the fear they have. The fear of being swallowed up by the relationship, of losing autonomy, of not being able to breathe emotionally. That's why pursuing someone with an avoidant attachment style never works. Never. It only reinforces that person's internal narrative that closeness means suffocation, nagging, and pressure. Even when their intentions are pure, the emotional effect is the opposite. But there's something they don't expect. Something that completely breaks that automatic pattern. It's what happens the moment you stop chasing. The moment you don't react from fear, but from stability. That's when the dynamic begins, silently, to change. When you truly distance yourself, and this is important, when you genuinely give them space, without messages, without indirect attempts, without extra explanations, two very clear things begin to happen. The first happens on their side. Initially, the person with avoidant attachment feels relief. There's almost a sense of inner peace. They think, finally, I have peace. Finally, there's no pressure. I don't need to react, explain, or meet emotional expectations. In that initial moment, she might even convince herself that she doesn't miss him. She might rationalize the silence, telling herself that she's better off this way, that she needed that space, that maybe the connection wasn't even that important. This initial relief is real, but it doesn't last. Because beneath that apparent layer of calm, something begins to reorganize itself. When the nervous system stops being in defense mode, emotions finally have space to emerge. Without the constant pressure of proximity, without the feeling of being emotionally pulled, the mind begins to relax. And it is precisely in this relaxation that curiosity appears. Gradually, the questions begin to emerge. And why didn't this person get in touch? Did they move on? Did I really make a difference in their life? These questions don't stem from fear, but from absence, from contrast, from the silence that now occupies a space that was once full. And this is where something powerful happens. Curiosity begins to transform into attraction. Attraction, over time, transforms into desire. Not because you did something, not because you manipulated the situation, but because the human brain responds to emotional contrast. Where there was once pressure, now there is space. Where there was pursuit, now there is mystery. That is the true power of the no-contact period. There's a crucial point that completely changes how you view the dynamics with an avoidant attachment style person. Such people aren't attracted to emotional intensity. They no longer connect through drama, insistence, or grand displays of emotion. What truly attracts them is stability. It's emotional predictability. It's the feeling that the connection doesn't come with pressure. The moment you stop reacting impulsively, you stop feeding their fear. You stop reinforcing the idea that proximity means emotional chaos. And, without realizing it, you begin to represent exactly what that person's nervous system seeks: security. In psychological terms, you become what we call a safe base, someone whose presence doesn't trigger alertness, but rather calm. And this is where the dynamic begins to reverse. Silently, almost invisibly, the roles change. Before, you were the person trying to get closer while the other person distanced themselves. Now, you are a stable, centered presence that doesn't need to chase after anyone to feel validated. His silence, in this context, is not empty. It is presence. It communicates something very specific without saying a single word. It communicates emotional strength, self-esteem, and confidence. It sends a clear message to the other person's subconscious. I am not here to pursue you. I am not trying to convince you of anything. I am here when you are ready to meet me as an equal. And this message changes everything. Because, for the first time, the person with an avoidant attachment style begins to feel something they are not used to feeling in relationships: the desire to get closer to someone who conveys security, stability, and emotional detachment. And that is exactly what awakens reverse attraction. Let's make something very clear, because many people get confused here. No contact has nothing to do with playing hard to get, playing psychological games, or feigning indifference. If you are silent on the outside, but on the inside you are checking the person's profile every hour, counting the days, analyzing every like, and anxiously waiting for a message, that's not emotional distance. That's emotional tension. And that energy, even if invisible, remains present in the dynamic. No contact only works when it's built on emotional self-regulation, not strategy. It's not about controlling the other person's behavior. It's about regulating your own nervous system. When it becomes a game, when it becomes an attempt to provoke a reaction, the effect is completely lost. Therefore, during this period, there are some things that simply don't work. Don't use social media to provoke envy or indirectly seek attention. Don't send accidental messages as if it were an innocent mistake. And above all, don't use silence as a form of punishment. When silence carries resentment, anger, or a desire for revenge, that energy always turns against you and reinforces the distance. Instead, use this time with a completely different intention. Use the silence to recenter your body, your mind, and your emotions. To slow down, to get out of constant alert mode. You're not waiting for anyone. You're not holding your breath until something happens. You're resetting. And that inner shift is what really begins to change the dynamic between you. This is precisely where the true transformation begins. Not on their side, but on yours. While silence reigns on the other side, something far more important can and should, happen within you. This period is not a void to be endured, but a space to be filled with inner reconnection. It is the moment to rebuild your sense of identity, often weakened when all emotional attention was focused on the relationship. Start intentionally doing things that reconnect you with who you were before this relationship became the center of your emotional life. Resume hobbies you've put aside. Spend more time with friends who make you feel seen and supported. Strengthen your support network. Set personal goals, even small ones, that have nothing to do with the relationship. Each of these actions sends a powerful message to your nervous system. I am safe with myself. And here's a crucial shift in perspective. The goal of this process isn't to make them chase after you. That was never the real point. The goal is to stop needing someone to validate your worth. The moment your self-esteem ceases to depend on the reaction, message, or presence of others, your energy changes completely. And this change is noticeable, even from a distance. Because when you become emotionally independent, your presence ceases to carry pressure. It begins to carry calm, stability, clarity. And it is precisely this energy that a person with an avoidant attachment style can tolerate. And, more than that, begins to feel safe enough to approach again. Not out of obligation, not out of guilt, but because now the connection doesn't seem threatening. At some point, almost inevitably, the person will test the waters. It's usually not something grand or dramatic. Most of the time, it's simple. A short message, something like, "Hi, how are you?" Or, "Hey, everything all right?" It can happen after a few weeks or even months of silence. And when that happens, how you respond is crucial. This is the moment when many people ruin everything without realizing it. They either react with too much enthusiasm, unleashing pent-up emotions, or respond from resentment, with coldness or irony. Neither of these reactions conveys security. Both come from the same place, emotional reactivity. Instead, the approach here needs to be different. Calm, balance, consistency. There's no rush. There's no urgency. You don't need to prove anything, explain yourself, or make up for lost time in silence. Your response needs to carry a single message, simple and powerful at the same time. I am okay. I am at peace. I am open, but I am not waiting. This tone changes everything, because it generates trust. It shows that you are no longer reacting out of fear of losing, nor trying to control the outcome. It shows that you feel secure within yourself, regardless of what the other person does next. And when a person with an avoidant attachment style perceives this, the emotional landscape between you changes completely. For the first time, the connection doesn't feel heavy. It feels possible. Here's the truth that changes everything, and that almost no one talks about clearly. People with an avoidant attachment style aren't looking for drama, intensity, or emotional roller coasters. What they really seek, even if they can't express it, is emotional regulation. They want to be around people whose nervous system is stable, predictable, and secure. People who don't make them feel trapped, pressured, or emotionally invaded. That's why the real work was never about winning them back. It was never about convincing them to stay, come back, or change. The real work is about becoming an emotionally secure person, someone who doesn't panic in the face of silence, someone who doesn't confuse love with anxiety, someone who can be present without needing to control the other person. When you do this, something very profound happens. You stop depending on their approval to feel valuable. Your self-esteem no longer fluctuates with their response, delay, or absence. And it is precisely here that the paradox arises. The moment you no longer need them to feel complete, they begin to miss you in a different way. Not out of fear of losing you, but because they recognize the security that your presence represents. Because, ultimately, emotional independence is the highest form of attraction. It doesn't force, it doesn't pressure, it doesn't beg. It simply is. And that's what creates connections that aren't based on fear, but on choice. So, if you're in no contact right now, I want you to remember something important. You're not being ignored. You haven't been discarded. What's happening now is different. You're being given space. Space to transform, to reorganize internally, to teach your own nervous system that silence isn't a threat, that absence doesn't need to be interpreted as abandonment. This period is, in fact, an emotional training. A training to learn to feel safe without needing immediate external validation. To learn to remain whole, even when the other person is not present. And when you master this, something changes permanently. You not only increase the chances of attracting back someone with an avoidant attachment style, you start attracting people who can truly connect emotionally with you in a healthy way. Do it once. Do it with intention. Do it authentically. And watch how the dynamic begins to shift naturally, without forced effort, without manipulation, without psychological games. Just self-respect, emotional alignment, and a presence that conveys confidence. Because in the end, true love doesn't chase. It doesn't beg. It doesn't pressure. True love recognizes. It finds. It connects.